Hello and welcome to Gamers of All Master of None, and today we are going back to our Discount Gamer series where we play a game that we got on Steam on a very heavily discounted price. The game we've chosen today is Star Wars Squadrons, mostly because I have recently gotten a pair of flight sticks, not particularly for this game in particular, but just because I always wanted to try doing flight sims. So we're going to see how it goes and how Star Wars Squadrons come as being one of the first games to play. It is a bit of an arcadey game, so I don't expect it to be super difficult and challenging, and we just hope it's fun. There are 16 missions in total with 2 different prologues, one from the Imperial side, one from the Rebellion side. Essentially, they are just tutorials. The first part of doing this is actually setting up the game and the inputs. Not so much an issue when you are playing on the normal Xbox controller, but when you're having self-defined flight sticks with many different inputs and you have many different functions to fill the inputs, it becomes very overwhelming very quickly. Okay, so we need to go through. Let's POV up and then 2, just 2. Okay, so we need to change that. Again, this is a lot of switching until we get the controls right. There are so many inputs in this game that it is super confusing. Not only just because you have to configure like the direction controls, but also because there's like different buttons for energy, for shielding, for speed, maximum and minimum, increases and decreasing, different targets, cycling, and also all of the different menu items as well. There is just so many options to begin with. Essentially, I just spent the first hour or so in the tutorial trying to sort this out. One of the main issues is that even though I might have configured it already, I forgot what the configuration was, so I have to go back in and try that again. In Stream 2, I tried to use a paper printout to help me remember which is which and check what I configured each button to do. And with that mostly set up, we then go into our first combat trial, which is against stationary targets, turrets. The first one was fine because it was just in a straight line. What's the range of this thing like? There we go. That's one. But once I start moving, it becomes a lot more difficult. Something as simple as just going in the direction that you want is very different once you start factoring up and down and trying to control it into flight sticks. I definitely have gained an appreciation of all of the long training that a pilot has to go through, especially once we finish off this section and move on to the next part of the mission. I don't know what I'm doing. I just know this is quite fun. The introduction of enemy fighters really pushed this to the next level for a newbie, as you can see. Obviously, this is Star Wars, it is in a sci-fi setting, so there are things like shields and stuff. So maybe I should have started off with something like Ace Combat 7 or Wars of Thunder or something where it's a little bit more realistic. And also mean that because it is based on Earth, there is always a reference point for where the ground is, unlike in space where I often don't remember where I am. But regardless of setting, it doesn't change the fact that it is a very steep learning curve. 22? Where's 22? For someone who A, hasn't done any flight simulators before, and B, has never used a flight stick before. I also sometimes get a bit of a helping hand from 2 of my co-pilots. Milo, don't press the stick! Anyway, after struggling for a good 6-7 minutes with technical skill and cat, we finally managed to survive our first dogfight in space.
It's destroyed.
That took way too long. It doesn't get any easier though, because now we have to navigate a tunnel, putting our flight skills to the test, and we didn't pass. Oh my god. The tunnel. That took 3 tries. That took way too long. As heavily implied by the promotional material of the game, you play both sides, so you sometimes get a nice flashy screen switching from one to another. We start off the tutorial with essentially the same kind of flight movements That was slightly better because we had the experience from playing the first time round. But this time it is a lot more combat focused, and it's another statement to say that it is not a shock to the system. This is also where we get introduced to fighting bigger ships, and this won't be the only time we struggle with fighting big ships. Oh, it's just flying the straight line now. But eventually we did manage to destroy the targeting system, even though it did take a toll on us.
Vigilance's targeting is down.
I just crashed into it. I died. So that pretty much concludes the tutorials for both sides, and I'm not going to go too deep into the story, as this is essentially a flight sim. You just kind of have access to different planes, which obviously I didn't know they existed before playing this game.
Ah, the X-Wing. A-Wings go as fast as you can fly them.
The TIE Fighter. Classic. The TIE Reaper's a specialist model made for utility and squadron support.
Y-Wings are built to carry bombs and other heavy explosives.
TIE Interceptor. This machine is built to cut down enemy fighters.
U-Wings keep the squadron flying.
Not only do they look different on the inside and the outside, obviously they are for different situations and have different handling and quirks and weapons. So as a newbie, this is a little bit overwhelming with all of the different things, but some of them, especially the bombers, were quite fun. I actually hated the supporters, and my kind of default is just the fighters. Also later on as well, you could switch weapons before the mission start, and also during the mission as well, if you manage to make it back to base and, you know, not die in the meantime.
I'd say you owe me one.
I need repairs. Please repair me.
It might help.
While most of the game is pretty much about plane-on-plane combat and small ships fighting big ships, etc, etc, there are a few missions that make this game memorable. The first time flying a bomber on the Rebellion side, we have to fly into trenches and drop bombs at a 90-degree angle to destroy thermal regulators. Where when you're playing as an Imperial fighter, you have to attack a medical frigate, which is obviously not great, even though there's no live patients inside.
If you want that frigate destroyed, we should hurry.
Needing to destroy a couple of enemy corvettes and evac transports, which took, I think, an entire stream to do that mission, which is about 2.5, 3 hours. Although I must say, it wasn't entirely my fault. Please, Claus, mister. Not only having to fly into the Starhawk, which is a big, massive space station battleship thing to destroy its core, but also having to escape it as I'm being ejected out as well, which also took a few tries.
In 3, brace yourself.
Okay, yeah. The fight as an Imperial fighter when you have to fight Lyndon Jones, which was the commander on the Rebellion side, which I have died a few times and actually have to just give up once. Yes, this is what it's like trying to fight an ace pilot. This isn't even the ace difficulty, this is like beginners. Not story, but like... Oh, let's return to hangar for now. See if we can change our loadout. Again, this was another mission that took up an entire stream, and actually I think the only reason why we managed to beat him in the end was because I moved down the difficulty storytelling, so it was not a challenge in the end. Oh. And the final mission on the Rebellion side, where we had to escape an exploding sun, where I died a total of 26 times. 26! Yeah. No shit. No. Anyway, you get the idea. Outside of classic gameplay, the most interesting aspect though is that there is a VR mode which pushes the boundary quite a lot more. Not only in what you see, but also a lot of the movements now makes more sense, and it just feels a lot more intuitive than watching it on a flat screen. So I would imagine that if I started playing this game initially in VR mode, my learning curve would be a lot less. However, as you can tell with my ping, my laptop and Quest 2 combination doesn't really do it justice. The graphics is blurry, the movement is choppy, so it is very motion sickness inducing. So unfortunately I couldn't really do any more than I did, which was about half an hour. I do have a better PC now, so I might come back to this or try a new flight sim in VR mode, but that is to be decided, so let me know in the comments if that's something that you would like to see. Overall, as a person who has never played any flight sim or space sim before, this is definitely one heck of an introduction to playing those type of games, especially with flight sticks, and also it being Star Wars as well does have a hook for the fan base. Personally though, I probably would have gone with something a little bit lighter and more focused on just the flying part, so maybe something like Ace Combat 7, so I can just hone a little bit more of that skills, and I definitely would want to do this in VR mode so that the learning curve is less, you can see more and it makes a little bit more sense. Anyway, that's it for today. Check out the other videos I have on my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next video or stream on Gamers of War Master of None. Bye!